Commander Amelia Frost stood on the bridge of the research vessel Horizon, her eyes fixed on the strange object that had appeared near Neptune's orbit. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and eyes that missed nothing. Today was supposed to be a normal patrol, but this was anything but normal. "What is that thing?" she asked, leaning forward in her captain's chair. Officer Olivia Bennett looked up from her screen. "Unknown, Commander. It doesn't match anything in our database." Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel. "It seems to be absorbing light rather than reflecting it." The object was beautiful in a strange way. It looked like a ship made of black crystal. It didn't shine like metal ships. Instead, it seemed to pull in the light around it. "Follow first contact protocols," Frost ordered. "Send the greeting message on all frequencies. Power up defensive systems, but keep weapons inactive." The bridge crew moved with the precision that came from years of training. No one had expected to make first contact today, but they were ready. Or so they thought. Before the communications officer could confirm that the message had been sent, the black ship changed. Its surface rippled like water, and a beam of pale blue light shot out toward the horizon. "We're being scanned," Bennett called out. "No, wait, it's not a scan, it's—" She never finished her sentence. The blue light flashed bright, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. When they could see again, there was someone new on the bridge. If she was the right word, stood 7 feet tall. Her skin glowed faintly like moonlight through thin clouds. It shifted colors slightly as she moved, from pale blue to soft purple. Her eyes were the most striking feature, large with no visible pupils and constantly changing color in ways that human eyes shouldn't be able to see. The security team raised their weapons, but Frost held up her hand. "Hold your fire," she ordered. First contact was happening right here on her bridge, and she wouldn't let it start with violence. The visitor looked around, seeming more curious than threatening. When she spoke, her voice was like music, but with an odd echo that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I am Lysithea," she said. The name sounded like water flowing over stones. "I represent the Lumini Collective. We have observed your species for some time." Frost stood up slowly. "I am Commander Amelia Frost of the Earth research vessel Horizon. We welcome peaceful contact." Lysithea tilted her head, a gesture that seemed almost human. "Your species intrigues us. We study evolutionary biology across the galaxy. Your planet contains remarkable diversity." "Thank you," Frost said, not sure how else to respond. "I come seeking knowledge of your reproduction methods," Lysithea continued, her directness catching everyone off guard. The bridge fell silent. Even the gentle hum of the engine seemed to pause. "I'm sorry?" Frost asked, certain she had misheard. "Reproduction. The method by which you create new humans," Lysithea clarified. "My civilization studies how life forms perpetuate themselves." Frost glanced at Science Officer Bennett, whose face had turned noticeably pink. This seemed to interest their visitor. Lysithea moved closer to Bennett, studying her face with intense interest. "Your epidermis changes color based on emotional states," she observed. "Is this part of your mating display?" Bennett's blush deepened. "No, it's just, it happens when we're embarrassed." "Embarrassed?" Lysithea repeated the word as if tasting it. "This means uncomfortable with a social situation?" "Something like that," Frost said, stepping in. "Questions about reproduction are considered private in our culture." Lysithea seemed confused by this. "Why?" "It is a biological function, like converting nutrients or processing oxygen." Dr. Natalie Wong, the ship's medical officer, joined the conversation. "Human reproduction involves intimate physical contact. We consider it personal." "Physical contact," Lysithea repeated. Her skin rippled with new colors. Green and gold swirls appeared briefly. "You mean your bodies must touch to create new humans?" "Yes," Dr. Wong confirmed. "Humans reproduce sexually, through the combination of genetic material from two individuals." Lysithea's eyes widened, their color shifting to a bright yellow. "Fascinating." The Lumini abandoned physical reproduction millennia ago. We transfer consciousness into artificially grown bodies. This time it was the humans' turn to be surprised. You don't have children? Bennett asked. We have new individuals, Lysithea explained. But they are designed, not randomly created through genetic mixing. Commander Frost sensed both the danger and opportunity in this moment. First contact was always delicate. Cultural misunderstandings could lead to disaster. Perhaps we could arrange a formal exchange of knowledge, she suggested. Our scientists would be very interested in learning about your methods, and we could explain ours. Lysithea's skin pulsed with blue light. Approval, perhaps? Yes, this would be valuable. My ship contains extensive databases on reproduction across the galaxy. We have studied thousands of species. Then let us begin a scientific exchange, Frost said, extending her hand before remembering that the gesture might be meaningless to Lysithea. But to her surprise, Lysithea extended her own hand, with 6 long, elegant fingers, and carefully mimicked the handshake. I have observed this. Greeting ritual, she explained. Physical contact to establish trust. Interesting that it mirrors your reproductive requirement for physical connection. Bennett coughed awkwardly. Over the next few hours, arrangements were made. The Lumini ship would dock with the horizon. Small teams of scientists would begin sharing information. Earth authorities were notified, and soon the news spread across the planet. Humanity was not alone, and their first visitors were especially interested in how humans made babies. Commander Frost wrote in her log that night, first contact established with species called Lumini. Their representative, Lysithea, shows intense interest in human reproduction. While this focus seems strange to us, it may simply reflect different cultural priorities. The Lumini reproduce through artificial means and consciousness transfer. Concepts our scientists are eager to understand. I remain cautiously optimistic about this exchange, though I can't shake the feeling that we're missing something important about their interest in us. She couldn't have known how right she was to worry. 1 month after first contact, the Interstellar Biological Exchange Program was in full swing. A special facility had been built on the International Space Station to host the Lumini visitors. Dr. Samantha Reed had been chosen to lead the human research team. Dr. Reed was the best xenobiologist on Earth. She had studied alien microbes found on Mars and Europa, but this was different. The Lumini were the first intelligent aliens humans had ever met, and they were very, very interested in how humans made more humans. So you're saying that your people don't have males and females? Dr. Reed asked during their 4th session, together. Lysithea, the main Lumini representative, stood near the large window overlooking Earth. Her skin shimmered with soft blue light. We had such distinctions in our ancient past, she explained. But we evolved beyond the need for biological sex when we mastered consciousness transfer. Dr. Reed made notes on her tablet. Can you explain that process again? How exactly do you create new individuals? Lysithea moved her 6-fingered hand, and a holographic display appeared in the air. It showed what looked like a transparent humanoid shape, slowly filling with light. We grow empty vessels, physical bodies, in special chambers, Lysithea said. When they are ready, we copy a consciousness from an existing Lumini and transfer it to the new vessel. Sometimes we blend multiple consciousnesses to create variation. Dr. Reed tried to hide her surprise. So every new Lumini is a copy or mixture of existing ones? There's no equivalent to our genetic recombination, correct? Lysithea's skin pulsed slightly. Your method seems incredibly inefficient. You allow random genetic combinations rather than designing optimal beings. Dr. Reed smiled. It's not entirely random. Humans often choose partners based on qualities they find attractive or valuable. This seemed to confuse Lysithea. Her skin swirled with green patches, a sign of puzzlement Dr. Reed had learned. You select reproductive partners based on physical appearance, she asked. Not just appearance, Dr. Reed explained. Personality, intelligence, shared interests. Humans form emotional bonds before reproducing. Emotional bonds, Lysithea repeated. You mean pair bonding? Many species do this. We call it falling in love. Dr. Reed said. Lysithea's skin flickered rapidly. You form pair bonds based on neurochemical fluctuations and physical attraction, rather than cognitive compatibility ratings. Dr. Reed laughed. It's more complex than that, but yes, humans generally don't use compatibility ratings to find partners. And this works? Lysithea seemed genuinely puzzled. Not always, Dr. Reed admitted. Relationships can end, but many last for decades. The conversation continued as Dr. Reed explained dating, marriage, and family structures. Lysithea recorded everything in a device that floated within her bioelectric field. Now, Lysithea said, I believe we have delayed the most important topic. Please explain the actual physical process of human reproduction. Dr. Reed took a deep breath. She had been preparing for this moment. Using medical diagrams and scientific language, she explained human reproductive anatomy and the process of sexual intercourse. As she spoke, Lysithea's skin changed colors rapidly, flashing through blues, purples, and colors Dr. Reed couldn't even name. The alien's reaction was impossible to miss. Wait, humans really use that thing for breeding? The alien woman was stunned, her entire body glowing brighter. You allow another being to deposit genetic material directly into your bodies, through physical contact? Yes, Dr. Reed said, trying to keep her tone professional. That's how most mammals on Earth reproduce. And you? Lysithea seemed to search for the right words. You enjoy this process? Dr. Reed nodded. Generally, yes. Physical intimacy releases hormones that create feelings of pleasure and emotional bonding. This was clearly shocking news to Lysithea. You have evolved to find the exchange of genetic material pleasurable? It's called an orgasm, Dr. Reed explained. It's a physiological response that... But Lysithea had moved to her communication device, speaking rapidly in the musical language of the Lumini. More colors rippled across her skin than Dr. Reed had ever seen before. Other Lumini researchers entered the room, their skin also flashing with color patterns. They gathered around Dr. Reed's diagrams, their movements becoming increasingly agitated. Dr. Reed wasn't sure what was happening, but she sensed the mood had changed. Is everything okay? She asked. Lysithea turned back to her. We are processing this information. It is very different from anything we expected. Over the next few weeks, the Lumini became intensely focused on human sexuality and reproduction. They requested interviews with couples, access to medical records, and detailed information about human birth rates and population growth. Dr. Reed began to worry about their obsession. She shared her concerns with Commander Frost, who had been promoted to oversee all interactions with the aliens. They asked the same questions over and over, Reed explained during their private meeting. It's like they can't believe or accept our answers. Frost frowned. What exactly seems to bother them the most? The physical aspect, Reed said. The direct contact between bodies. The fact that genetic combination is somewhat random rather than designed. They seem almost disgusted by it. Cultural differences, Frost suggested. Remember, they abandoned biological reproduction thousands of years ago. Dr. Reed shook her head. It's more than that. Yesterday, Lysithea asked how we control the spread of human reproduction. Her exact words. It was the way she said it, like she was talking about a disease. Commander Frost tapped her fingers on the desk. Keep a close eye on this, record everything. I'll inform Earth government that we might be experiencing a serious cultural misunderstanding. Meanwhile, more Lumini ships had entered the solar system. They called them research vessels, here to study Earth's unique biodiversity. 17 ships now orbited various planets, their crystalline hulls absorbing light in the darkness of space. No one noticed that these ships were systematically mapping every human settlement, every hospital, every fertility clinic on Earth. No, one realized that when the Lumini spoke among themselves about humans, they used a word that translated roughly as the contamination. No one suspected that Lysithea, who smiled and asked endless questions about human babies, was actually compiling a military target list. One evening, As Dr. Reed explained the concept of maternal instinct, Lysithea asked, "And humans would fight to protect their offspring, even against a superior force?" "Absolutely," Reed answered without hesitation. "There's nothing stronger than a mother's need to protect her child." Lysithea's skin darkened slightly. "How interesting. Your reproduction method creates strong protective instincts." "It does," Reed agreed. "I think it's one of the most beautiful things about being human, how much we care for our children." Lysithea was silent for a moment, then she asked, "And if someone tried to stop humans from reproducing, how would your species respond?" Dr. Reed laughed. "That would never happen." "But if it did," Lysithea pressed, "we would fight," Reed said simply. "With everything we have." Lysithea nodded slowly. "As I suspected. Thank you for your honesty, Dr. Reed. It has helped us reach an important decision." That night, all communication with the Lumini ships suddenly stopped. They moved away from their docking positions, their crystalline hulls shifting into new configurations. The invasion was about to begin. Commander Frost was awakened by the emergency alarm at 5:17 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. She reached for her communication device before her eyes were fully open. "Report," she demanded. "Commander, the Lumini ships are moving," her second-in-command said, his voice tight with tension. "All 17 vessels have changed position and are not responding to our hails." Frost was fully awake now. "Where are they going?" "That's the problem. They're spreading out in attack formation. 3 are heading toward Earth. The others are positioning themselves near our colonies on Mars and the Moon." Frost pulled on her uniform as she spoke. "Order all ships to defensive positions, alert Earth's defense systems, and get me Dr. Reed immediately." 20 minutes later, Frost stood in the command center of the space station staring at the tactical display. The Lumini ships were definitely moving with purpose, not randomly. Dr. Reed rushed in, still wearing her sleep clothes with a uniform, jacket thrown over them. "What's happening?" she asked, her face pale with worry. "I was hoping you could tell me," Frost replied. "The Lumini have cut all communication and moved their ships into what looks like attack positions." Reed shook her head in disbelief. "That can't be right. We've been sharing information peacefully for weeks." "Look at this," Frost said, pointing to the display. "These aren't the movements of friendly ships." Reed stared at the screen. "I don't understand. Why would they—" She stopped mid-sentence, her eyes widening as a terrible thought struck her. "Commander," she said slowly, "remember what I told you about their reactions to human reproduction?" Frost nodded. "You said they seemed disgusted by it. What if it's worse than disgust?" Reed's voice was barely above a whisper. "What if they see our way of reproduction as a threat?" Before Frost could respond, the communication officer called out, "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the lead Lumini vessel." "On screen," Frost ordered. The large display flickered, and Lysithea's face appeared. But the friendly, curious alien they had come to know was gone. Her skin was dark now, almost black, with only faint pulses of red light moving across it. "People of Earth," she began, her musical voice now carrying a cold, metallic edge. "The Lumine Collective has completed its assessment of your species. We have determined that your method of reproduction represents an unacceptable risk to galactic order." Frost stepped forward. "Lysithea, what are you talking about? We've been sharing information peacefully." "Yes, Commander Frost, and that information has led us to our conclusion." Lysithea's eyes, once shifting with beautiful colors, now glowed a steady, threatening red. "Your breeding is inefficient, unpredictable, and poses a threat to ordered existence." Dr. Reed moved next to Frost. "Lysithea, please explain. How is our reproduction a threat to you?" The alien's face showed no emotion. "Your method creates unnecessary variation. It is chaotic, uncontrolled. The random mixing of genetic material produces unpredictable results. Some of your own scientists call it genetic roulette. This is not civilization, this is biological anarchy." Frost felt a cold dread spreading through her body. "And what do you intend to do about it?" We will correct this evolutionary mistake, Lysithea stated simply. Our ships are now targeting all facilities related to human reproduction. Hospitals where births occur, fertility clinics, genetic research centers. We will eliminate your ability to breed in your current chaotic manner. The command center erupted in shocked voices. Frost raised her hand for silence. This would be an act of war, she said firmly. Humanity will defend itself. We understand. This, Lysithea replied. Your protective instincts toward your breeding methods were predicted by Dr. Reed's information, but you cannot win this conflict. Our technology is far superior to yours. Lysithea, Dr. Reed pleaded. We can discuss this. There's no need for violence. For a brief moment, something flickered across Lysithea's face. Uncertainty, perhaps, but it was quickly gone. The decision has been made by the collective, she said. We act as one mind. Prepare yourselves. The sterilization process begins in 1 Earth hour. The screen went dark. For several seconds, no one in the command center spoke. Then Frost snapped into action. Sound the global alert, she ordered. I need to speak with Earth's Defense Council immediately and evacuate all reproductive medical facilities worldwide. As her team rushed to follow orders, she turned to Dr. Reed. I need everything you know about their technology, their ships, any weakness you might have observed. Reed nodded, her scientific mind already working despite her shock. Their ships absorb energy weapons, that's why they look like they're pulling in light. Conventional weapons might be more effective. Good, Frost said. What else? They think, as a collective, Reed continued. Lysithea mentioned they act as one mind. That might be literal, not figurative. If they all think alike, they might all fight alike too. Which means they might all have the same weaknesses, Frost concluded. Get me everything you have on their psychology and biology. The next hour passed in a blur of activity. Earth's military forces mobilized with unprecedented speed. Space defense systems were activated. Civilian evacuation of targeted facilities began. Exactly 1 hour after Lysithea's message, the attack began. The Lumini ships fired bright blue energy beams at their targets with surgical precision. Buildings crumbled. Research centers exploded into flames. Hospitals were cut in half by the alien weapons. Earth's defenses fought back fiercely. Missile after missile was launched at the crystal ships. Fighter craft swarmed around the alien vessels. But the Lumini technology was indeed superior. Their ships absorbed energy weapons completely. Physical projectiles damaged them slightly, but not enough to stop the attack. From the space station, Commander Frost watched the battle with growing despair. Earth's defenses were failing. Reports of casualties flooded in from around the world. They're specifically targeting pregnant women, one report stated. The beams can somehow detect pregnancy and are focusing on those individuals. They've destroyed every sperm and egg bank in the Northern Hemisphere, another report said. Dr. Reed worked frantically at her station, analyzing data from the battle. There has to be a weakness, she muttered. Every species has a vulnerability. Then, Lieutenant Grace Chen, a young officer who specialized in communications technology, approached Frost with an unusual observation. Commander, she said, I've been monitoring the Lumini communications during the attack. Something strange is happening. What is it? Frost asked, desperate for any information that might help. They're all sending identical signals, Chen explained. Not just similar messages, exactly the same down to the smallest detail. It's like 17 ships with only one brain controlling them all. Reed looked up from her station. That matches what Lysithea said about them acting as one mind. But how is that possible? Chen shrugged. I don't know how, but I've confirmed it. Even when faced with different situations, their response patterns are identical. Reed's eyes widened as an idea formed. Commander, remember what I told you about their reproduction method? They transfer consciousness into new bodies. What if they're not just similar? What if they're all copies of the same consciousness? Frost stared at her. You mean Lysithea and all the other Lumini we met are the same person in different bodies? Not exactly, Reed clarified. But they might all be copies from the same original consciousness, with only minor variations. That would explain why they think alike and fight alike. And why they're so afraid of our reproduction method, Frost realized. We create true diversity. New individuals with unique combinations of traits. They just make copies. Chen nodded, excitedly. If they all think identically, they'll all have the same tactical approaches, the same blind spots, and the same weaknesses, Frost finished. This could be the advantage we need. But how do we use it? Reed was quiet for a moment, thinking deeply. Then she looked up, her face set with determination. I need to speak with Lysithea, she said. Not to surrender, to plant a seed of doubt. What do you mean? Frost asked. If they all think alike, then a new idea could spread through all of them, Reed explained. Lysithea has spent more time with humans than any of them. She's learned about our emotions, our connections, our love for our children. There might be a part of her that understands us better than she realizes. Frost considered this. Earth was losing the battle. Conventional warfare wasn't working. They needed something unconventional. What are you suggesting, Doctor? She asked. Reed took a deep breath. I want to be captured. Let them take me to Lysithea. I think I can reach her. Reach the part of her that was curious about us, not just disgusted. That's suicide, Frost protested. Maybe, Reed admitted. But right now, it looks like we're all facing extinction anyway. Let me try. Frost looked at the tactical display, where red indicators showed Lumini ships advancing across Earth. Then she nodded slowly. Do it, she said. And Dr. Reed, good luck. Dr. Samantha Reed watched Earth grow smaller through the window of the Lumini transport ship. She had surrendered to a Lumini ground force just hours after the invasion began. They had seemed surprised by her willing capture, but had taken her aboard their vessel without question. Now she was being taken to Lysithea's flagship, which orbited Earth like a dark crystal moon. Reed tried to calm her racing heart. The plan had seemed logical when she proposed it, but now, alone among aliens who wanted to sterilize her entire species, she wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. The transport ship docked with the larger vessel. Two Lumini escorts led Reed through corridors that seemed to be made of the same light-absorbing material as the ship's exterior. They didn't speak to her. Their skin glowed with dim blue light, giving the hallways an eerie underwater feeling. Finally, they entered a large chamber. Lysithea stood in the center, her back to the door, facing a wall of floating displays that showed the battles raging on Earth. Dr. Reed has arrived, one escort announced. Lysithea turned slowly. Her skin was darker than Reed remembered, with only occasional flashes of color. Why did you surrender? Lysithea asked without greeting. Our data suggested you would fight to protect your reproduction methods. Reed stepped forward. I came to talk to you, to help you understand what you're trying to destroy. We understand perfectly, Lysithea replied. Your chaotic breeding creates unpredictable variations. It is inefficient and dangerous. Dangerous to whom? Reed challenged. Humans have reproduced this way for hundreds of thousands of years. We've built civilizations, created art, explored space. How is that dangerous? Lysithea's skin flickered slightly. It is dangerous to ordered existence, to planned development. Your random genetic mixing could produce anything, including threats to other species. Reed nodded slowly, beginning to understand. You're afraid of us because we're unpredictable. The Lumini are not afraid, Lysithea stated, but her skin flashed briefly with yellow, a color Reed had learned was associated with anxiety. We are protecting the galaxy from potential contamination. By eliminating our ability to have children? Reed asked softly. By ending your chaotic reproduction, Lysithea corrected. Once your breeding centers are destroyed, we will offer your species an alternative. Consciousness transfer technology. You can continue to exist, but in a more controlled, rational manner. Reed felt a chill run through her body. You want to turn us into copies of ourselves. We want to help you evolve beyond your primitive biological processes, Lysithea said. Meanwhile, back on the space station, Lieutenant Chen had made another discovery. She rushed into the command center where Commander Frost was coordinating. Earth's failing defense, Commander, I've analyzed the data from the Lumini ships, Chen reported breathlessly. They're all identical. Not just similar, exactly identical neural patterns replicated across different bodies. Frost turned away from the tactical display. Explain. Chen pointed to her screen. These are neural pattern readings we captured from various Lumini individuals. Look at the base algorithms, they're exactly the same. It's like they're running copies of the same program. Dr. Reed was right, Frost murmured. They're not individuals but copies, the same consciousness, distributed across multiple bodies. Yes, Chen confirmed. And there's more. Because they all think identically, they're all using the same attack patterns. Their ships move in perfect synchronization. That's a strength, but it's also a weakness, Frost finished. If we can figure out one effective countermeasure, it should work against all of them. Chen nodded eagerly. I've been analyzing their attack sequences. There's a pattern, a 5-second vulnerability in their shield regeneration cycle. It's barely noticeable, but it's consistent across all ships. Frost felt the first spark of hope she'd had since the invasion began. Can we exploit it? I think so, Chen said. If we time our attacks to hit all ships simultaneously during that 5-second window, we might be able to penetrate their defenses. Make it happen, Frost ordered. Coordinate with all Earth defense forces. I want a synchronized strike as soon as possible. On the Lumini flagship, Dr. Reed continued her desperate attempt to reach Lysithea. Let me ask you something, Reed said. In all your studies of species across the galaxy, have you ever found one that reproduces exactly like the Lumini? Lysithea paused before answering. No, our method is unique. Most species use some form of genetic exchange, though none as chaotic as humans. And have you noticed anything about those other species? Anything they have that the Lumini might lack? Lysithea's skin swirled with patterns of blue and green. They are less efficient, less ordered. Their development is unpredictable. Yes, Reed agreed. But what else? What do they create? What do they discover? Lysithea was silent for a long moment. Then she said, They produce unexpected things. Art forms we could not predict. Technologies we had not considered. Philosophical concepts that are new. Exactly, Reed said softly. That's what diversity creates. Novelty. The new. The surprising. The things no single mind could imagine alone. She stepped closer to Lysithea, looking directly into her color-shifting eyes. You once wanted to understand us. You never truly did. Our breeding isn't just biological, it's why we create art, build civilizations, explore space. The variability you find so threatening is our greatest strength. For a moment something flickered in Lysithea's eyes. Doubt. Consider this, Reed continued. If you eliminate all beings who reproduce differently than you, who will create new ideas you've never considered? Lysithea's skin suddenly pulsed with rapid color changes. This is not relevant to our mission. Isn't it? Reed pressed. The Lumini have existed for thousands of years, making copies of yourselves. In all that time, how many truly new thoughts have you had? How many surprises? How many moments of wonder at something completely unexpected? Lysithea turned away, abruptly. These questions are designed to create emotional responses. The collective makes decisions based on logic. Are you sure? Reed asked. Or do you make decisions based on fear? Fear of the unpredictable? The diverse, the different? Before Lysithea could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. One of the display screens showed Earth's forces launching a massive coordinated attack against all Lumini vessels simultaneously. What are they doing? Lysithea murmured, watching the screen. This attack pattern is unexpected. Reed felt a surge of hope. Lieutenant Chen must have found something. On Earth and in space, human forces had synchronized their attacks to exploit the 5-second vulnerability Chen had discovered. Missiles, Kinetic weapons and specially modified energy pulses all struck the Lumini ships at precisely the same moment. For the first time since the invasion began, the crystal ships took significant damage. Several smaller vessels shattered, completely. The larger ships, including Lysithia's flagship, suffered breaches in their hulls. Lysithia stared at the displays in shock, her skin flashing with rapid pulses of red and yellow. How did they discover the shield regeneration cycle? None of our previous opponents have ever identified this weakness. Because we think differently, Reed explained. Because we're not all copies of the same mind. Some humans see patterns, others miss. Some make connections others wouldn't. Our diversity lets us solve problems in many different ways. The ship rocked as another coordinated strike hit. Emergency lights flashed. Reed could see Lysithia was struggling with something internal, a conflict within her mind. Lysithia, Reed said urgently, you've spent more time with humans than any other Lumini. You've learned about us, talked with us, maybe even begun to understand us. Are you exactly the same person you were before you met us? Lysithia turned to her slowly. I am Lumini. We are one mind. Are you? Reed challenged. Then why are you hesitating? Why haven't you killed me? Why do I see doubt in your eyes? Another explosion rocked the ship. The displays showed more Lumini vessels falling to Earth's coordinated attack. The collective is experiencing disruption, Lysithia said, her voice unsteady. Your words are creating conflict in our shared consciousness. Reed felt a surge of hope. Her plan was working. The seed of doubt was spreading through the Lumini collective mind. It's not just my words, she said gently. It's your own experience with humans. You've been changed by it, haven't you? You've started to develop individual thoughts. Thoughts that might not match perfectly with the collective. Lysithia's skin changed to a color Reed had never seen before, a soft glowing gold. This is impossible. We are one mind. But you're not anymore, Reed said. You're becoming something new, something diverse, something individual. A massive explosion shook the entire ship. The displays went dark, then flickered back to life, showing that Earth's forces had destroyed nearly half the Lumini fleet. Lysithia stood perfectly still, her skin cycling through colors so quickly it looked like she was surrounded by a rainbow. Reed could almost feel the battle happening within the alien's mind. The conflict between the collective consciousness and Lysithia's emerging individuality. Finally, Lysithia spoke, her voice different somehow, less harmonic, more distinct. I am experiencing something new, thoughts that are only mine. Reed smiled. That's individuality, Lysithia. That's what diversity creates, unique perspectives, unique minds. The Lumini Civil War lasted just 3 days, but they were the most tense days in human history. After Lysithia sent her ceasefire message, the Lumini fleet split into 2 factions. One group, those who had begun to develop individual consciousness, withdrew from Earth and disabled their weapons. The others, still bound to the old collective mind, fought to continue the sterilization mission. The individualized Lumini, led by Lysithia, helped Earth's forces by revealing more weaknesses in the enemy ships. By the end of the 3rd day, the last loyal collective vessel had been destroyed or captured. 1 month later, Commander Frost stood at the window of her office on the space station, watching Earth rotate slowly below. The planet still showed scars from the invasion, blackened areas where cities had burned, new coastlines where geography had been altered by alien weapons. But humans were rebuilding as they always did. A soft chime announced a visitor. Frost turned to see Dr. Reed enter, accompanied by Lysithia. The alien looked different now. Her skin glowed with a steady golden light, with occasional ripples of other colors. Her movements seemed more natural, less perfect. Commander, Reed said with a smile, we're ready to present our proposal. Frost gestured to the chairs around her desk. Please, sit down. As they settled in, Frost studied Lysithia with cautious curiosity. How are your people adjusting to individuality? Lysithia's skin flickered with blue and purple. Amusement, Frost had learned. It is challenging, Lysithea admitted. Some are adapting better than others. Many find it difficult to make decisions without the collective guidance. But we are learning. And what do you call yourselves now? Frost asked. You're not really the Lumini Collective anymore. I have chosen a new name, the alien said. Lyra. It is the first name in 50,000 years that was not assigned by the collective. Frost nodded with approval. It suits you. The others are also choosing their own names, Lyra continued. It is a powerful symbol of our new individual status. Dr. Reed opened a tablet displaying their proposal. We've been working on establishing the Galactic Biodiversity Council, she explained. A cooperative organization dedicated to studying and preserving the many ways life propagates itself throughout the universe. Frost reviewed the document with interest. And Earth would be a founding member? Yes, Lyra said. Your reproductive diversity would be recognized as a valuable contributor to galactic development, not a threat as we once believed. We've already identified 12 other species with unique reproductive methods, Reed added excitedly. Some use parthenogenesis, others have sequential hermaphroditism, and there's even one that reproduces through quantum entanglement. The Council would establish protected status for all these methods, Lyra explained. No species would be allowed to interfere with another's reproductive choices. Frost leaned back in her chair, considering the proposal. This is ambitious. You're essentially creating a new galactic law about reproduction. It's necessary, Reed insisted. What happened to Earth could happen to other worlds if we don't establish these protections. Lyra's skin darkened slightly, a sign of regret Frost had learned. My people were wrong to fear diversity. We now understand that different reproductive methods create different kinds of thinking, different approaches to problems. The galaxy needs this diversity to thrive. Frost nodded slowly. I'll present this to Earth's government. I believe they'll support it. As the meeting concluded, Frost walked her visitors to the door. Before they left, she asked the question that had been on her mind since the invasion ended. Lyra, what was it like? The moment you first had a thought that wasn't shared by the collective? The alien was silent for a moment, her skin cycling through soft colors as she considered the question. Terrifying, she finally said. Imagine spending thousands of years never being alone in your mind and then suddenly hearing only your own thoughts. It was like falling into empty space. But then? Frost prompted. A ripple of bright gold spread across Lyra's skin. Then I realized I could think anything. I could question. I could disagree. I could change my mind. She looked at Dr. Reed. Your people have always had this gift. You never knew how precious it is. After they left, Frost returned to her window, watching the stars beyond Earth. Somewhere out there, other species were reproducing in their own unique ways, creating new kinds of minds that would think new kinds of thoughts. The galaxy was more diverse and thus more resilient than anyone had imagined. 6 months later, Admiral Frost, newly promoted, stood on a platform at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Beside her stood Dr. Reed and Lyra, along with representatives from 17 other species. They were about to sign the charter establishing the Galactic Biodiversity Council. The damage from the invasion had been largely repaired. Earth's population had suffered terrible losses, but no species-threatening damage to human reproductive capacity had occurred. The Lumini weapons had been designed to target facilities, not to cause permanent genetic damage. Today marks a new era in galactic cooperation, the UN Secretary-General announced to the assembled delegates. For the first time, species from across our galaxy come together not to trade or fight, but to protect the fundamental right of all life forms to reproduce in their own way. Lyra stepped forward to address the assembly. She wore a specially designed translator that converted her thoughts directly into multiple human languages simultaneously. My people once feared diversity, she began. We believed that our method of reproduction, perfect copying of consciousness, was superior to all others. We were wrong. The hall was silent as she continued. In seeking perfect order, we lost something precious, the ability to think new thoughts. By making ourselves copies of each other, we limited our potential. We could only think what had already been thought before. Her skin glowed with shifting patterns of gold and blue as she spoke. Now we understand that true strength lies in diversity, in the unexpected combinations that create minds which see the universe in new ways. Your chaotic breeding. She paused as a ripple of amused color passed across her skin. Forgive me. Your sexual reproduction creates true novelty. Each human child is a new possibility, a new perspective, a new set of solutions to the challenges of existence. She gestured to the representatives of other species. Each method of reproduction represented here today creates its own kind of thinkers, its own kind of problem solvers. Together, our diverse approaches make us all stronger than any single approach could be alone. Dr. Reed stepped forward next. In the months since the invasion, she had become Earth's foremost expert on alien biology and a key architect of the Biodiversity Council. What nearly destroyed us has made us stronger, she told the assembly. The attack on our reproductive freedom forced us to look beyond our world, to understand our place in a diverse galaxy. We now know we are not alone in our struggle to preserve our unique way of life. She smiled at Lyra before continuing. And we've gained valuable allies. Those who once sought to eliminate our diversity now defend it fiercely. The individualized Luminae have become our strongest advocates for reproductive freedom throughout the galaxy. Admiral Frost was the last to speak. She had commanded Earth's forces during the darkest days of the invasion and had earned the right to represent humanity. At this historic moment, 1 year ago a ship appeared near Neptune, she began. Its arrival changed everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe. We learned that we were not alone, that other intelligent life existed among the stars. But we also learned something more important, that our most basic human function, our ability to create new life through love and physical connection, was both rare and precious. She looked out at the delegates, her eyes bright with emotion. The invasion tested humanity as we have never been tested before. But it also revealed our greatest strength, our diversity. Because we reproduce in a way that creates true variability, we think in different ways. We approach problems from different angles. We find solutions where others see only obstacles. She turned to Lyra with a smile. And we taught others the value of individuality, of being unique, of thinking thoughts that no one has ever thought before. As the charter was signed, establishing protections for reproductive diversity throughout known space, Dr. Reed found herself reflecting on how it all began, with a simple, stunned question from an alien visitor. Wait, humans really use that thing for breeding? What had once been a moment of cultural misunderstanding had led to galactic cooperation. The universe, Reed thought, worked in strange and wonderful ways. Later that evening, at the celebration dinner, Lyra approached Reed with a question. There is something I still do not fully understand about human reproduction, she said, her skin flickering with curious patterns. Reed smiled. What is it? You explained the biology, the chemistry, even the psychology, Lyra said. But there is an element I cannot grasp. Humans call it love. You say it is central to your reproductive experience, yet it seems to have no clear biological function. Reed considered how to explain. Love is complicated. It's an emotion, but it's also a choice, a commitment. It's what makes us care for our children, our partners, our families. It's what makes us willing to sacrifice for each other.